from Paper Moon Knits, and I'm back today with another technique video in the Knots and Dots Pullover knit along. The KAL is a collaboration I'm doing with LoveCrafts, and we just started last week, so you can jump right in. There's plenty of time. The KAL is running through December 31st, 2022. If you want to catch up with the other videos in this series, they're all on the Paper Moon Knits YouTube channel. So far, I've done a construction overview of Knots and Dots, which is interesting because it has an unusual construction, a yarn review, and the first two technique videos. Technique video number 1 was on the alternating long tail cast on, and technique video number 2 was on cables without a cable needle. This video, which is technique video number 3, is all about picking up stitches. I'm going to pop a picture of the sweater into the video because I want you to see how the pullover looks and how it's constructed. So the pullover starts with 2 cable panels, one at each shoulder. So this is one of the cable panels. It's done in heavier weight yarn just to make it easier for you to see on the video. This is not the yarn that I used. I used Paintbox Yarns Cotton DK, which is LoveCrafts brand, which I love, and it's 100% cotton. So here's the cast on edge down here, and you can see the cable panel is knitted. And I have these stitches up here on waste yarn. They're on hold because what will happen is once the front and the back and the yoke and the body is done, I'm going to pick up stitches for the sleeves, and the cable panel is going to run down the sleeves. So I want this cable to be continuous. So that's why they're on hold. So right now, that's where we are. We're ready to pick up stitches along both edges of the cable panel so that we can start working the front and the back. All right. So for this, you will need a tape measure or a ruler. And it can be inches or centimeters, whatever your preference is. I'm American, so I use inches. And we need stitch markers. So I have a variety here. So these are some locking stitch markers. They're from Clover, and they look like plastic safety pins. I've also used to mark my stitches these split ring markers. So you can see that. Just have an opening here. And I've also at times will use these coilless safety pins, which are just really sharp. They don't have that little loop at the bottom of the safety pin, and I like these because they're light and they're thin and you can get around them. So but today I'm just going to be using these Clover ones. So the first step is going to be to measure, and you're going to measure right under the waste yarn. You don't want to measure over the waste yarn because you cannot pick up stitches in waste yarn. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see that. So you can just start measuring right there at the edge. And then I'm going to measure to the cast on edge. So you can see I have 5 inches to work with, and I'm going to place the markers at regular intervals. Now, so for my purposes, because this is exactly 5, I can actually just mark it every inch. If it's not a round number for you, you can just place them at regular intervals. So that can be 3/4 of an inch or 1/2 inches. It doesn't have to be a certain number. It just has to be regular intervals. So if I wanted to do 1/2 inches here, I could just, instead of having 4 markers, I would have 1 in between. So I'd have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'd have 9. That's overkill for me. I think it's overkill for most people. So I think approximately every inch or every 2.5 centimeters would be fine. We don't need the tape measure anymore. And these won't really move much, so I don't have to lock them. You can if you want, just so that they don't interfere with your knitting, your pickups. And so I'm just going to do that, just because we're doing a demonstration. And the other thing you need to remember when doing this is also that you want to pick up as close to that last stitch as you can. And I'm just going to zoom in again, just to show you a little bit. So you can see that this is the last stitch of the row, or the first stitch of the right side row. And you can see we're just going to pick up along that edge. And we're going to pick up in the same line so that they're not all wobbly. We want to pick up in as straight a line as we possibly can along this edge. Now I need to pick up 25 stitches. So that makes it pretty simple here, because I'm going to need to pick up 5 stitches in each section to get to 25. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. But what if you had a different number? What if you had a number that wasn't divisible by the number of sections that you have? Supposing you have 5 sections, but you only needed to pick up 24 stitches. Then you can just start playing with the numbers. So I probably would do 5, 10, 15, 20, and then I do 4 over here. Or I might do 4 right in the middle. I might do 5, 10, and then 4, and then another 10 on this side to get to 24. What if you had 23? Then I might do 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. If I had 22, I would do 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. So just start playing with the numbers so that you get a regular repeat of picked up stitches, a regular interval. So I'm going to use a contrasting color of yarn to do my pickups, just because I think it will make it easier for you to see. And again, I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Okay. So I'm going to go in at the very corner of the cast on, as close to the edge as I can get. And I'm just going to loop the yarn around the needle, and I'm just going to pull it through. So it's a little, the first stitch is always a little bit tricky. So there you go. You got that in. Now you can let go of the tail. And you can start picking up. So I want 5 stitches. This is 1. So 2, 3, 4, so you can see that I'm grabbing that little strand of blue yarn. I don't want that. So I'm going to try again. Oh, I keep getting it. So let's see if I can grab that. There you go. 4, and then 5. I'm going to stop right here just because I want to show you what's going on. Now you can see that I've skipped a stitch here. Right here between here, because if I go into every stitch in this 1 inch, there'll be 7 pickups. I'm going to have to skip sometimes. The number of stitches per inch is always fewer than the number of rows per inch, except when you're working in garter stitch. So since this is not garter stitch, this is actually, you're looking at reverse stockinette stitch here, it's going to be you're not going to pick up one stitch in every row. Okay, so there's my first 5. So then I'm going to jump over to this other side of the stitch marker, and I'm going to start picking up in the second set. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep this in line right under that first stitch of the right side row. 1, 2, and again, try not to pick up any extra strands. 3, 4, and you can see I have, if I pick up 4, 5, I'll have 6. So I'm going to have to skip one and go to here. 4 and 5. Okay, so I should have 10 now, which I do. All right, I'm going to jump over this stitch marker again. One. And I'm staying right at the edge. 2, but I'm getting the whole stitch. 3. 4, 5, 6, and again jump over the stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, and you can see that I'm judging how much longer I have to go and how many more stitches I have. So you can eyeball that. You can see you can't go in every one. You're going to have to skip some. And then the last 5, jump over that last stitch marker. 1, 2. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 here, so I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go into this one. So this is 3, 4, and the last one, 5. And you want to get as close to that waste yarn as you can so that the transition for the sleeve is going to be the least visible. So let's take a look at the stitches that we picked up. You can see there are gaps, which is fine, but we have regular intervals. We have 5 stitches for every inch. So I'm going to work a wrong side row, which in this case is just a purl row. So I'm just going to work that purl row. So you can actually see what it looks like with one row. Knit it up. When you jump over those markers, just give a little pull just so the yarn is a little bit tighter. Just give a little pull here. Not a yank, just a gentle tug. And again, you have a lot of tails to work around because you have the waste yarn, you have the cast on tail, you have the yarn you cut when you finish the cable panel. So you're working with, and you have the tail of the yarn you're using to pick up the stitches, which we're just getting to now. And you can see this first stitch is very loose, but we're going to tighten that up. I'm just going to give it a little pull here. And we're going to take a look at what we have. So we have a very even pickup rate. And we're going to remove these markers now so you can really get a good look. We're going to lay this flat. And you can get a good look at what that looks like. I'm just going to zoom in again, just take a look. And of course, this will all be done in the same color yarn, so it totally won't be this visible or this obvious, but you can see that it's following a straight line along the edge. And that's what you want. You want an even rate and you want a straight edge. So if you have any questions, pop them into the comments. I hope to see you back for technique number 4, which is going to be German short rows, which is the next section of our knit along, the next technique video. And I hope you'll join along with us. All the information on getting the pattern for Knots and Dots, getting the yarn for Knots and Dots is all in the notes section below this video. So I hope to see you again soon.